She's a Colombian and Spanish citizen with a substantial and wide range of professional experience, working with academic, nonprofit, private, and public institutions in Latin America and USA, and also in Spain and some countries in Europe. Her work has ranged from engaging in policy design and implementation to participating in communities building and developing interventions. She is an international consultant in evaluation at the IDB and USAID, and currently a consultant in knowledge management from Latin American Center for Development Management, CLAD. Maria Victoria earned a PhD in Public and International Affairs from the University of Pittsburgh and an advanced certificate in Latin American Social and Public Policy from the Center for Latin American Studies at the same university. Thank you so much, Maria Victoria, for being here.
Thank you.
And I have the pleasure to present two of our panelists today. Thank you so much all for being here. It's really great that we can talk about this and like with this select panel. Dr. Gloria Lopez, she is also a PhD, a Colombian-Canadian geologist from the University EAFIT in Colombia, with a master in paleo. I'm so sorry if I am not saying pretty well those words, Gloria. Paleoseismology from the University of Victoria in Canada, and a PhD from geochronology from the University of McMaster, also in Canada. Different diplomas and studies that she has done. She's the Colombian first expert in paleo tsunami geology and luminescence dating. Sorry. She has more than 25 years of research experience in different temperate, tropical, and desert environments of South and North America, the Mediterranean, Asia, and Africa. Your background is so complex and so extensive, and so I am going to share a little bit, Gloria. Well, several postdocs in different places, Israel too, research fellow at the Rekanati Institute of Maritime Studies at the University of Haifa in Israel. He's an active member of the Ibero-American Network, Red Pro Playas, and UNESCO's Organization for Women in Science for the Developing World. Colombian National Chapter, serves in the board of directors of the Colombian Doctoral Guild with me, and I have the pleasure to work with this great scientist and great leader. Was previous president and current vice president of the Colombian Geological Society. And we will finish with Sonia Esperanza Reyes Gomez. She holds a degree in chemical engineering from the La Universidad Industrial de Santander in Colombia, as well as a master's degree and doctorate in material science and engineering from the La Universidad Autónoma de México, la UNAM, with over 13 years of experience in research and R&D. Well, specifically in the areas of chemical and mechanical recycling and of polymeric materials, production and characterization of biomaterials, and synthesis and metrics in green chemistry. She has joined the Plastic and Rubber Training and Research Institute since 2021 for a postdoc, thanks to a scholarship from the Minister of Science in Colombia. Her areas of, well, also she has a really extensive background and experience, but her areas of expertise include polymeric materials, green chemistry, olefin metathesis, organometallic catalysis, life cycle assessment, and scientific dissemination. Also a teacher, a researcher, passionate about promoting sustainability in the plastic industry and fostering collaborations within the sector. So as you may realize, we have a really well-prepared ladies in front of us, and all of us are from the Organization of Women for the Developing World, la Organización de Mujeres Científicas para Países en Desarrollo, la OWSD, el capítulo Colombia. And so queríamos hablar un poco acerca de la dificultad de nosotras encontrar con tan variados backgrounds como lo han visto y tan bien preparadas, encontrar trabajos remunerados, no precarizados y dignos de una científica o de científicas de los niveles que han visto. Te entrego el piso, Joana. Thanks.
Thank you, Melina. As Melina said, we want to take this opportunity to talk about these situations. And you know that nowadays there are more difficulties to find positions or to find jobs for highly qualified people. But the difficulties are even higher for highly qualified women. And we want that in this panel to talk about your personal and professional experience about these situations. So we will start with the first question. First, I will ask the question in English and then in Spanish. So the first question that we want that you share with us is, what had been your personal experience in trying to find work in the field in which you are highly qualified? ¿Cuáles han sido sus experiencias personales al tratar de encontrar trabajo en un campo en el que están altamente calificadas? So if you want, we can start with Sonia.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay.
Pasito. Se oye pasito, creo que podrías eso.
Okay, maybe this way. Okay. First, I want to thank the invitation from Melina to this panel and from the OWSD to participate in this important encounter, because I think that it's important for women to talk about these topics, no? And here in Colombia, I think it's a good moment to talk about these topics, because we are experiencing some barriers about. So I have personally experienced certain barriers when I'm looking for a job in chemical engineering and related fields, because as you know, I work mostly with polymeric materials. And for example, in academia, I applied for some positions, but the barrier was that they applied highly qualified people that and is a lot of competition. So it's difficult to stand out among other candidates when you are a recent PhD graduate, because I studied my doctorate in material science and finished in 2018 and came back to Colombia the next year in 2019 and applied for those positions, and was difficult because I was recently graduated. So I start working as a professor, as a lecturer, so I can't, collect the experience that those positions needed for me to apply. Well, then I applied for the postdoctoral position, and I was one of the benefits of the MinCiencias scholarship. So I uh, in I did my uh, uh, postdoctoral stay at the Instituto de Capacitación e Investigación del Plástico y del Caucho, and I have been interested in making the transition now to industry from that experience. But there in industry are other barriers, such as I have been searching for positions again related to plastics and chemical engineering, and found a shortage of job opportunities to those fields, and maybe because my skills are more like technical skills in chemistry synthesis, and it's difficult to do the match to obtain uh, the experience or the requirements uh, for the available jobs in the sector. Or other barrier is that maybe some companies are unwilling to pay the salaries correspond to a PhD profile, no? So that is the other experience that I have applying for those jobs. Now, currently, I am a consultant in the ECIP, and still looking for those positions. But I think that I have like two choices: search in the industry and apply for those scarce jobs that maybe are for R&D, or start by myself, like an independent consultant. Thanks again.
Thank you, Sonia, for sharing this personal experience regarding the difficulties that you have found as a qualified woman. So we want to share. We want to listen the personal experience of Maria Victoria. Do you want that I repeat the question, or it's okay?
No, it's okay. No, for me, it's okay. I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway,
Go ahead.
well, I think my personal experience is related to the field that I am working on that I have been working on for almost of my life, that is government, democracy, public policy, and government. And first, I also want to thank you the invitation to be part of this panel within the World Forum Women in Science 2024. I think that this is quite important, this discussion. And I want to remember that the fifth Sustainable Development Goal is achieving women's equality in the world. And my experience is just part of this big picture that I want to refer to, and then I will end talking about myself. But in general terms, according to the United Nations, at the current rate, gender equality in the highest positions of power, meaning governing, will not be reached for another 130 years. So, I'm just part of this huge gap, huge, in terms of access into power. That means governing in the world. So, the first is, it was easier for me when I was away. It was easier not in South America. That is in Latin America, that is is the frame for this conversation. I think Latin America is one of the most macho culture oriented in the world. So it's difficult. It's more difficult here because we are women, and that's more complicated. I mean, it was easier for me when I was away. If I knew it, maybe I had stayed away, but you don't, you always have the dream of coming back home. And then, the more you prepare yourself, the more you learn, the more you think you are able to do things, the more you want to contribute to building democracy, in my case, and, creating a better country. Having all the, problems that we know Colombia has in terms of inequality or violence or, the lack of trust in the institutions, etc., etc. So it was difficult because I came with a lot of expectations and a lot of, I was really eager to give something to my country. And it was really frustrating, very hard, very, very painful, and very, I have passed for more than one depression along this time since I came back. It has been 14 years that I came back to Colombia. I came back in 2010. And it has been difficult because it was, that's which something that is really interesting is that I had better jobs before doing the PhD. So that's incredible. I couldn't believe it. I said, why did I leave? I stayed away from Colombia 11 years. I did my PhD. I work in, big organizations, IBD. I work with the European Union. I went to Europe, and I was, I thought I'm coming back now, to be able to do what I was doing, but in a better way. And it was incredible. It was easier before I had my PhD. It was easier. Then, everyone felt threatened. I think, that in Colombia, everyone is doctor, but the doctors. I was in panels where everyone were men and I was the only woman, and they will say, may I introduce Dr. something, Dr. something, Dr. And no one of them were a real doctor. And then they said, la señora, Mrs. Maria Victoria, which I am not. I'm not Mrs. at all. So it has been painful. It has been difficult. I have been doing this for a long time. I'm sure I am I'm the most senior here. Let's say it that way. I'm sure I am. So it has been, it's a difficult experience. And founding organizations that like the OWSD or the Colombian Network of Women Scientists has been very, very helpful to me and very, at least comforting, maybe not helpful in the sense of changing reality, but at least not feeling so lonely. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria Victoria. And you talk about, I think, that different situations and emotions that most of us have had in our professional life. We will deep in this point regarding the gender differences in the next question, but I think that is really crucial to talk about these situations because it's a reality that we have in Colombia and in Latin America. So we will continue with Gloria. We would like to listen you. Thank you.
Well, it's very funny because, being a geologist, you would think that this is a male-dominated field and that we would have a lot of inconveniences finding jobs, which we do. But that hasn't been my case outside of Colombia. So I've found several jobs as a master's. After I graduated from my master's and after I graduated from my PhD, I found several jobs and I wandered around basically. But those were short-term contracts, let's say. When I came back, we also have to talk about the pandemic. The pandemic changed everything, changed the dynamics in many spaces, academia, industry, everywhere. So now if we had difficulties before the pandemic, now we had them double or triple because everything is more difficult now because of the shortage of resources. So during the pandemic, I had to come back to Colombia after 25 years of living abroad. And ever since, I can say that, I mean, I've been unemployed ever since. It's going to be 4 years now, this year. And the only way I had to survive was to do some consulting, same as Sonia. But it's been very difficult to get into the system, mostly in academia, because the fields that I'm an expert about, they don't exist in the country. So Sonia can relate a lot. So, I mean, I can work as a normal geologist, let's say, do some consulting in the field, to be a field geologist and so, but not applying my expertises. So that's how, that is very frustrating. And even more frustrating when you know that your peers and your colleagues know how good you are, know that what you do, nobody else is doing it, but they don't help. And some of those colleagues are heads of departments or even presidents of universities, but they cannot do anything. Their hands are tied if the calls for specific types of professors or researchers at the university level, like in academia, they don't change, they don't open up. So they always, the one problem that I see that we have a lot here in Latin America, or in geology in many places, but I'm generalizing it, is that when a call is open at a university or industry, it's for a very specific profile that they require immediately. They don't tend to think in, this is the profile that we need now to be developing for the next 5-10 years. So, for example, I could have been hired by several universities to be a professor of mineralogy, for example. I could have done it, like basic mineralogy, but I don't want it because I'm an expert in tsunamis and in old earthquakes, or in geochronology with a brand new dating method, so I can measure the age of things. That doesn't exist in the country. So right now, what I've been doing here in Colombia, and ever since I finished my master's in 2002. And ever since, every year that I come here to visit my family for Christmas or for like long vacations, I always knock on every university's door that has a geo program or the Geological Survey of Colombia. And I tell them, hey, do you want to talk? I mean, do you want to, I can do a little conference so you know what I'm doing and what I'm capable of every single year. So people know about it. People know about me, but they don't, I mean, I don't know. They're in La La Land. And these are things that we could apply here in Colombia. Like, for example, we have a very poor early warning system in terms of tsunamis. It's basically null to non-existent. And the government thinks that, well, not only the government, several agencies think that by doing a mathematical model, we will survive the next big tsunami. Like, see what I mean? So it's funny though. But anyway, so I'll continue to knock on everybody's doors, and I'll continue to have my little talks and my little seminars and my little things here and there until somebody really pays attention. That's it. That's what I've been doing.
Thank you. Thank you, Gloria. You mentioned a situation that is quite frustrating, and I think that this happened to different professionals that are coming to Colombia. And you talk about also the role of the universities, of these closed doors that sometimes the directors doesn't consider this new, we call this relevo generacional, this new people that is coming, people that are coming from abroad that can contribute to the development and growing of our university. So there is a lot to do. at this regard. Marina, it's your turn.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to make or answer the question in English and in Spanish. In my case, gaining the access to the doctoral level education was the opportunity to secure a job with fair working conditions in an organization that values knowledge, such as University and Universidad de la Costa. However, the act of trust that the mayors, the authorities in the university, in making me as a highly qualified professional may be tarnished when representing the institution at meetings with more traditional or older institutions, which still exhibit gender biases. In those scenarios, I have often perceived the difficulty of older male academic authorities to appreciate my contributions or acknowledge that my perspective can be valuable or useful in the discussion. Furthermore, my profession and doctoral title also face gender biases, where it is assumed that because they are considered softer and feminine disciplines, they do not require adequate compensation. Finally, I have faced stereotypical comments associated with the country, which exacerbate gender biases when combined with xenophobia. For example, you are a Colombian woman, so do you study a PhD program? We thought they only migrate to prostitute themselves. These comments was explicit when I was making my pasantía, my interchange. So it was very shocked to me. I was absolutely no words because I didn't know how to respond that. It was really, really hard to me to listen that phrase. So, well, now I'm going to make this in Spanish for the people who is connected from Latin America and maybe they don't understand perfectly the English. Decía que para mí sí fue un éxito poder obtener mi título doctoral y poder llegar a una organización innovadora, abierta, donde no se presentan estas situaciones o no están tan marcadas, porque puede que se hayan dado algunos comentarios por ahí de pasillo donde uno percibe que todavía hay profesores o personas que evidencian sesgos de género y que no confían en tus capacidades pese a que eres una persona altamente cualificada. Pero poder haber llegado a una institución como esta para mí fue muy satisfactorio. Sin embargo, cuando voy a representar a la universidad en otros escenarios donde hay universidades más tradicionales, más antiguas, sí que me ha sido difícil. Yo soy una persona de corta estatura, joven, entonces cuando llego y tengo que hablar como decana de departamento o con otras facultades, con autoridades académicas de ese mismo nivel, que en su mayoría son hombres, sí he sentido que no se me da la palabra o me ignoran o me dejan de última o me tratan de niña. Y eso precisamente dificulta poder interlocutar entre instituciones porque hay un sesgo de género, además intergeneracional, que se ve, digamos, exacerbado con esa situación. Y mencionaba al cierre una experiencia muy traumática para mí, que fue que en un escenario, en una universidad, me dijeran, eres colombiana, estás haciendo un doctorado, ustedes estudian doctorado, pensábamos que solamente emigraban para prostituirse. Entonces, y claro, la respuesta fue, no te preocupes, es un chiste. Pero detrás del chiste claramente está toda esa situación que de fondo tenemos que afrontar las mujeres y las mujeres sudamericanas o latinoamericanas cuando migramos hacia otros entornos para poder estudiar o representar a nuestras instituciones o al trabajo en el que nos encontramos. Gracias.
Gracias, Marina. Thank you so much. You talk about some situations that happens to not only women, but I think that men, Colombians, postgraduate students, postdoc people that are abroad. Right now, we continue with these stereotypes that are really difficult to manage and are really painful. And sometimes it's really frustrating. And so you finish with some aspects that we will include in this next question, that is focused on the barriers related to gender. So the question is, have you encountered specific barriers related to your gender? ¿Han encontrado barreras específicas relacionadas con el género? María Victoria.
Voy a empezar en español y luego lo hago en inglés. Voy a aprovechar el buen ejemplo. Yo creo que sí, o sea, creo que todas las barreras que he encontrado tienen que ver con género y se pueden combinar con otras. Sí, o sea, las formas de discriminación, como apuntaba Marina, se pueden combinar, entonces pueden ser racistas, clasistas y todas esas istas que tenemos sobre todo en Colombia y América Latina, pero todas se combinan con género. Es decir, no he encontrado una solita. O sea, no he encontrado una en la que el chiste no aluda a la condición de mujer y a otra cosa más, a la que sea, a que no tengo pelo, por ejemplo. Sí, a que a mí me pregunten, tiene que ver con Marina, que me digan dónde está el pelo y dónde está el pelo. Sí, o sea, como si eso tuviera algo que ver con el cerebro. Pero bueno, en fin, si tuviera algo, en fin. Entonces, sí que creo que he encontrado muchas barreras, el menosprecio, el creer que eres digamos que en una reunión te pidan que tú sirvas el tinto, que quién va a tomar notas, entonces que miren alrededor y si hay una mujer, esa es la mujer que va a tomar las notas. Pero bueno, eso llevo viendo los 50 años o más. Es decir, no es para consolarnos ni lo contrario, o sea, es una tragedia, pero no es nueva. O sea, creo que lo que me preocupa es lo lejos que estamos de mover esas barreras en Colombia y en América Latina, entre otras cosas, creo que porque las mujeres nos da miedo también dar esa pelea. Digamos, yo que soy feminista, yo soy feminista desde los 17 años y yo la he dado en paralelo con todas las otras. Entonces yo me doy cuenta que muchas veces las mujeres mismas me miran como, ay, no, por favor, María Victoria, no, porque vas a levantar la polvareda, ¿sí? Y entonces creo que por eso hemos avanzado tan poquito. Mientras tengamos miedo de tocar ese punto, digamos, ese punto tan neurálgico, pues vamos a avanzar muy despacio. Bueno, now I'm switching to English. So, yeah, I was saying that every barrier, every difficulty in my life has been related to gender. Sometimes combined with others, like, you know, if I have or do not have hair, like in Colombia, someone asks me, where is my hair? In a meeting, you know, in a professional meeting, which I've seen, and then they will say, yeah, it's a joke, as they did with my colleague Marina. So they will always, you know, jump into the joke shield to say, I didn't say anything, you know, but violence is violence. And violence in jokes is violence still. So, yeah, I think gender is it's a very important issue to understand the gaps between men and women in the scientific fields. And when Gloria was saying before, my field is a very men's, you know, it's a very men's field, I was thinking, which field isn't? Which field isn't? You know, like in Latin America and in Colombia, every field of knowledge and science is a men's field. So you are always, you know, an outsider and you are an intruder. They think that you are in a place you shouldn't be. You should be at home, you know, cooking and having children and being pretty for me. That means, you know, I hate it literally because I am a feminist. Since I was 17, I am a feminist. So I have done this fight for a long time. And what is worse is sometimes I found my women's colleagues and friends, you know, being scared of me because she's going to say it. She's going to do it. She's going to make this noise, you know, she's going to touch that, you know, that red point, you know, this, and we don't speak of that, unspeakable. Because if you say it, then, you know, it will create a horrible environment. But I think we should do it. We need to push this barrier forward. We need to talk about this. You know, when I came back to Colombia, just to finish, my colleagues, my main colleagues were telling me, no, it's because you have been away from the country a long time. This is solved. It's completely solved. It already changed. You know, you don't need to be anymore a feminist, because Colombia is done with that discussion. We are now completely equal. Everything is working perfect. And if you don't know it, because you have been away long time, but this is not true. And that, you know, and it's not true. I mean, we all know it. We have been suffering it. I can't believe what Gloria was saying. You know, this is incredible. I mean, I didn't want to teach. And then, you know, so the universities hired me and they told me that I was going to do research. That is what I am. I am a researcher. And then they will put me to teach classes like anyone else. And I say, and where is research? Yeah, you know, it's okay. And then they will give you 3 months to research something that needs 2 years. And they want, you know, results and several papers published and everything else. And then you have to do, like all women, you have to do everything and not complain of anything. So that's it.
Thank you, Maria Victoria. Thank you for sharing with us this situation that you have lived. I think that is a really common situation, for example, in the universities. You say something that is necessary to talk about. And sometimes in the universities and in the companies, we don't talk about these gender barriers. And men think that everything is fine. And maybe someone of you, maybe Gloria or Sonia or Marina, can talk about these gender barriers in directive positions. Who wants to talk about this? These gender barriers in directive positions, like deans or directorates of, I don't know, vice rectors, even rectors. Someone of you have some this experience? So, Gloria?
I have that experience, but it's not in Colombia. It's in Spain. And the woman that made my life impossible was the director of the center where I was before, where my contract ended. Well, several contracts ended at the same time during the pandemic. But these were, as we say, chanchullos, like these were mischiefs, basically, because our contracts were supposed to be renewable as a as a research tenure track. But they weren't, because the director changed the rules. So that is, it's very sad when the barriers are made by other women to women. So that's even worse. And as in general, like say for these gender problems, I've been extremely fortunate not to encounter them throughout my career as much as so many others in my field, like in geology. And I think it's because ever since I was an undergrad, the majority of my classmates were women. So we were a big pack of women, and the professors respected us. And it was only like 1 or 2 men in every single class. So the gender balance was inversed. See what I mean? So it was a very different way to grow up into the profession. And everywhere I went, I saw more women than men, even in geology. Like it was different, very different. But the only one, I mean, besides this director, female director, the only men that really established like he created the problem openly, was my former lab technician back in Spain. And he literally told me, what the heck are you, poor Latin American that doesn't know anything? What are you doing here stealing our Spanish jobs? Face to face, in the face.
Terrible.
I couldn't believe it. And he was also a PhD. I mean, come on, like we're colleagues here. Oh yeah, since day one, he was against me. He left, obviously, but I've never saw more racism or these gender barriers in any other country but in Spain. Not even, I mean, it's hard. I mean, for me, it was harder there than here. Entonces, no sé si resumir esto un poquito en español también, para dar un ejemplito, pues para seguir el ejemplo de Marina. Que barreras así de género, yo fui de las pocas afortunadas, digámoslo así, que yo no las viví durante mi crecimiento profesional, ni de estudiante, ni de estudiante de pregrado, ni de maestría, ni de doctorado, porque siempre estaba más rodeada de estudiantes, mujeres, que de hombres. Y los profesores que nosotros tuvimos, o que, pues, que tuvimos en aquella época y que yo tuve a lo largo de mi posgrado, eran extremadamente, aceptaban mucho a la mujer. Es más, querían tener más estudiantes mujeres que estudiantes hombres. Y sobre todo latinas, porque las latinas, y esto no lo dije en inglés, las latinas somos extremadamente enfocadas en nuestro trabajo y respondemos. Así nos quedemos en el laboratorio de 6 de la mañana a 6 de la tarde. En cambio, gente de otros países es el horariocito de 9 a 5. Y de ahí, punto, me voy a la casa y ya. Y mis problemas de género, uno de los más serios que he tenido, pues el más serio que he tenido ha sido con un hombre en España que era era el encargado del laboratorio que yo dirigía. Y literalmente me dijo en la cara, ¿usted qué hace aquí robándose el trabajo de nosotros los españoles? Desde el día número 1, y él siendo doctor también. Geólogo, doctor en química. Y el problema así a nivel de dirección que yo he tenido ha sido con una mujer, directora de ese mismo centro, que básicamente me hizo la vida imposible para no actualizar, pues renovar mi contrato. Entonces, que era renovable porque estaba en una carrera de investigación, pues de esas de escalafón. Entonces, es muy triste cuando son las mujeres las que te ponen las barreras y las que te ponen los problemas al tú querer proseguir. No solamente hombres, es que también hay mujeres muy... Qué bueno, en fin. Ya, eso es todo.
Thank you, Gloria. Something similar happened to me when I was doing my master in England. My supervisor was really macho man, and I couldn't do my research with him. But as a Latina, as you say, Latin women, we are really strong. So I was able to switch and to find another supervisor, but it's really, really hard. It's really hard. Okay, so I think that with this, we talk different aspects regarding the barriers that we have, first as a professional, and then as a woman. And now I want to give the word to Melina, so she will continue with the questions. And thank you so much for being here in this space.
Thank you,
Gracias.
Ana. Gracias.
Pues Sonia y Marina, les escuchamos. If you want to share some experience about it, you?
Okay, I can go. Well, as Gloria said, I remember when I was doing my paperwork to enter the PhD program at the UNAM. And my advisor, who wasn't Mexican, but he had also be my master's advisor. So during the interview, he asked me to some personal questions about if I was thinking of getting married in the next few years or having children in those times, 3 or 4 years that was the time for doing the PhD. And I, at that time, because I really wanted to carry out my studies, but I answered that I wasn't as interested in those things. I wasn't interested in getting married or have children. But now that I think about that in retrospective, I realized that I was facing a gender barrier that was imposed only on us, because I think that nobody asks a man if those questions, thinking that that would be a problem for them. And so I think it's like people practically have to, we women practically have to decide between choosing either our profession or having a family. Is that there is no other options in that situations. And well, because I study chemical engineering, and it's a career that is like balance between women and men in terms of people that study that. It was the only situation that I remember those gender barriers, and right now really doesn't face that. I don't know, maybe because I work mostly with women, and they are ¿cómo se dice? Están conscientes de esta situación. They are aware of the situation, and they pull us to be in this, because it's important in these spaces, no? With researchers and spoken up our knowledge and situations and focus like women. Bueno, quisiera también resumirlo muy cortico en español. Que sí recuerdo una situación así de haber enfrentado como estas barreras de género, y fue cuando entré a estudiar el doctorado, y mi tutor, que era el mismo tutor de la maestría, él era extranjero, él no era mexicano, me preguntó, ¿no? En la entrevista de ingresos, si yo estaba considerando tener hijos o casarme en esos próximos 3, 4 años en los que iba a estudiar el doctorado. Y yo en ese momento no tenía como esa conciencia de que estaba haciendo como que había un bias, un gender bias en esa pregunta, porque realmente pues esas preguntas no se las hacían a los hombres que querían ingresar a esos estudios, ¿cierto? Y bueno, pues aparte de esa situación, no recuerdo otros momentos, sobre todo acá, digamos, en Colombia, de vivir esas situaciones, porque pues como yo estudio ingeniería química, y ha sido siempre una carrera como donde hay casi que igual número de mujeres y hombres que están cursando, o hay una gran participación de las mujeres. Entonces, no, digamos, los espacios en los que he estado ahorita tienen mayor representación de mujeres que son más conscientes de estas situaciones, y pues que no, digamos, como que lo que han tratado es como de impulsarnos a estar más ahí en esos espacios y representarnos como mujeres, más que igual, y también sé que pasa con mujeres que lo que quieren es ponernos aparte, ¿no? O sea, como que nosotras mismas nos atacamos un poco. Muchas gracias.
Marina, ¿continúas?
Yes, in my case, the example that I present before illustrates several gender biases and barriers that women face in the professional environments: marginalization and exclusion, the lack of inclusion in conversations, and the denial of the opportunity to speak at meetings suggests a lack of recognition and appreciation for the contribution we can make. Microaggressions and infantilization, referring to me as a girl instead of using a professional and respectful term, highlights the tendency to underestimate and devalue women in the workplace. Gender stereotypes, my situation may also reflect entrenched genders stereotypes that associate certain characteristics such as youth or femininity with incompetence or lack of authority. This can lead my knowledge and experience being underestimated simply because I am a woman and does not conform to the traditional gender expectations in professional environments. Other situation that sometimes I see is a greater concern for our appearance, which is not held over men. These situations, especially I see these situations in meetings or in reunions when I'm representing the university, but not exactly in my environment, ¿no? En español sería que precisamente en el ejemplo anterior que mencionaba, el tema de las microagresiones, cuando se refieren a nosotras como niñas, o no dejarnos hablar, pero no tomar en cuenta la opinión que hemos dado, es un reflejo de no valorar nuestra opinión profesional y altamente cualificada por el hecho de ser mujeres, sobre todo, pues en el caso personal mío, porque por mi posición asisto a eventos y a reuniones donde pues hay muchos hombres y son mayores, especialmente. Entonces, además de la barrera de género, está el tema intergeneracional, se suma ese tema intergeneracional de no considerarme o ponerme a hacer, tomar las notas, enviar el correo, hacer la reseña, en vez de aportar de pronto las ideas que pueden ser centrales. Eso, y también esa excesiva preocupación por nuestra apariencia personal, cosa que no se da hacia los hombres. O sea, nadie está haciéndole permanentemente comentarios de cómo se ven, si se ven bonitos hoy o no, de si están bien vestidos o no. En cambio, nosotras permanentemente pues recibimos ese tipo de presión que evidentemente genera unas condiciones distintas. No lo he vivido especialmente en mi ambiente de trabajo, pero sí cuando estoy representando a la universidad en otros escenarios, especialmente, que es parte del trabajo, de poder tener un trabajo digno, que cuando tú estás cumpliendo tus funciones, pues puedas ejercerlas en igualdad de condiciones que otras personas en tu misma posición.
Thanks so much, Marina, for that. And thanks all. Yeah, for me, the microaggressions are so painful because people don't really think that they are doing it and they don't accept it. It's like an invalidation, a total invalidation of your thoughts because you are a woman. It's like, oh no, you are too passionate, or you are it's just you are the way you are.
Too emotional.
Too emotional. It's like, no, it's just like that's the way I am. And it's so, and I mean, if it was for a man, it's like, oh, that guy is so well put together, so articulate, so no, it's just or so strong, and it's like good things about it. But like for girls, it's like, oh no, it's just you are too passionate. It's like really, you are telling me that I'm too passionate, so you invalidate my thoughts about just saying that. We have, so let's keep going. We have about half an hour, and we would like to talk like the strategies. What strategies have you used to work around it? Because like we all have experienced all these barriers, and so how have you done it? Like how have you figured that out? Oh, I have to give someone. Marina, let's sorry. Let's start with you. We have always left you at the end, so let's start with you.
With me?
Yeah.
Please,
Yes.
repeat me, please, the question.
Oh, hablemos de, sí, espérame, de las estrategias que hemos usado.
Vale, gracias. Sí, bueno, las principales estrategias que yo he implementado ha sido precisamente no callar. Un poco, como lo mencionaban antes, cuando a mí me tratan de bloquear es cuando yo más pido la palabra y evito que se me asignen estas tareas operativas en medio de las reuniones o tratar de ejercer una posición de mayor liderazgo durante la reunión. Me ha tocado siempre mostrar la capacidad, es decir, orientar todas mis capacidades y con mucha excelencia y demostrarla en mi trabajo para evitar quedar en esas posiciones de dominación y sumisión. Entonces, ha sido siempre ejercer con un alto nivel de exigencia. Yo creo que a nosotras las mujeres nos toca doblarnos, y eso no está bien, doblarnos en la autoexigencia para poder mantenernos en un escenario y ser apreciadas, y que entonces ya el foco no esté en nuestro género, en nuestra apariencia, en nuestra edad, sino en la capacidad que tenemos y lo que podemos aportar. Entonces, esa ha sido mi estrategia, nunca callar, sino realmente demostrar con toda la excelencia que dispongo para ejercer en el cargo en que me encuentro, el trabajo que haya que realizar, y poder entonces allí sí bajar un poco la presión. Una vez ya soy reconocida por la capacidad, digamos, que se invierte en esa situación. Entonces diría que the main strategy I have applied has been to actively participate in discussions, presenting my well-founded point of view with the recognition that it must be even more well-founded than if I were a man, as I will be evaluated and measured under the stereotype that I as a woman I am. I may be less capable for the reason to be a woman, so I have always to try to be excellent, always excellent, and it makes a lot of pressure to me. I have had to strive to always do so with high standards of excellence. Once people become aware of my abilities, I can engage in discussions on their conditions of recognition.
Thanks so much. That's a really good tip. Maria Victoria, do you want to give us some tips about it too?
Yeah. Well, I think that as Marina was saying, we have to be double, we have to be more than men to be half recognized. So that's incredible. You have to do double just to gain some recognition, and not always. You could be double and they won't see you anyway. So it's not, it's a strategy, not necessarily a successful strategy, but then it's a strategy. I think, more than a strategy, how did I survive all these years with so many aggressions in so many ways? Lot of violence, honestly. One is that I really love what I do. Being a researcher in thinking about equality and justice and, and democracy and building a better world, and, knowing that there are so many suffering in our country and in our continent, in Colombia and in Latin America. So, it seems your suffering is not so big when you think about, the big picture. So that has helped, because, it's not only for me. I'm not fighting only for me. I'm fighting for everyone else, all of my colleagues and friends, and, all the women that are coming, that live in this continent or in this country. So that helps. Also, these small victories, like when you finish a project beside, after suffering everybody and everywhere and everything, and then you really do it. And it's like, wow, that's like a novel. You know, it's like every project is like a novel. Oh, yeah, it's true. I mean, you know that. I know. We know. It's like a novel because it's incredible. It's like a miracle, and we are scientists. So we do not do miracles. We do science. So that's a miracle. You know, being able to do it, that makes you so happy, you know, being exhausted, but then that bit of happiness changed everything. At least in my case, it changed everything. You know, like, wow, I did it. You know, it's like, I did it. So that changed. And yeah, loving what you do, I think that's important. That keeps you going. Lo voy a decir en español muy rápido. Yo creo que, y voy a empezar por el final, creo que amar lo que uno hace lo mantiene, digamos, le da fuerza en un espacio donde uno de todas maneras vive muchas formas de violencia y muchas agresiones diarias, mucha inequidad, o sea, trabajamos el doble, el triple o el cuádruple que los hombres para que nos den un poquito más de reconocimiento, nunca en equidad, nunca en equidad. Y cansa, eso cansa, digamos, es muy agotador también, digamos, hay que tener mucha resiliencia para, digamos, algo que he aprendido a pesar de que soy feminista desde los 17 años y a pesar de que todo el mundo me mira en todos los espacios en que he estado como, va a tirar una bomba, está a punto de tirar una bomba. Yo sé que yo he aprendido a no cazar todas las peleas, aunque a los otros les parezca que me las caso todas, pues no las caso todas. Yo hay veces que digo, ¿para qué? No lo intento. Este espacio, digamos, estas personas no lo van a entender. Estos hombres, digamos, están convencidos de que yo estoy loca, entonces pues no los voy a hacer cambiar de opinión y no doy esa pelea, ¿no? Creo que eso es una estrategia importante también. Aprender cuando hay una cosa de esas que dice... esta cosa de aprender la diferencia entre lo que es posible y lo que no lo es. Digamos, yo me ha costado mucho porque yo cuando era joven creía que todo era posible. Ya sé que no, digamos, he aprendido y entonces pues también es una estrategia saber qué peleas cazar y cuáles no. Siempre y cuando la dignidad y digamos y el respeto no solo por ti sino por las otras mujeres no esté en juego. Yo creo que ese es el límite, ese es el límite. Y bueno, amar lo que cierro nuevamente con amar lo que uno hace ayuda mucho, porque le voy a decir esto que dije en inglés y se me ha olvidado, pero digamos, cada que terminas un proyecto es como ganarte un premio Nobel. Y realmente es como ganarse un premio Nobel porque las condiciones son tan absolutamente difíciles y precarias que es un Nobel realmente. Sí, y bueno, y es esa satisfacción que uno siente cuando cierra un proyecto, cuando tiene esos logros tan difíciles, es infinitamente más grande de lo que cualquier hombre se puede imaginar. En eso les llevamos, en eso ganamos.
Gracias, María Victoria. Gloria, te escuchamos.
I'm going to reply in English only, so because we have a shorter time. Sonia reminded me of something very important that I had forgotten actually. So thank you, Sonia. The one strategy, the first one is that you have to prove people wrong and you have to demand respect. When I was entering my undergraduate in geology, like, you know, here in Colombia, I don't know the other countries, you have to pass an exam, the university exam, and you have to go through an interview with the director of the program. So I had two choices, geology or medicine. I went I passed the exams for both. So I was selected to go into an interview. And the last thing, the rector of the medicine program at that university asked me was exactly what they ask you, Sonia. Are you going to get married? Are you going to have kids? When? And blah, blah, blah. Because if so, you're not a good investment for this university. I don't know how I did this, but I stood up. I said to him out loud, this is none of your business. thank you for the opportunity, but I don't want to study here in such conditions. I left and I basically threw the door at him. And that's ciao for me medicine, basically. But I mean, thank God, because then I enter into geology. So that was my first time that I did something for me to demand respect for me as a woman that I didn't even clue in at the time. Second is, as Maria Victoria said, like, you have to love what you do. During my master's and my PhD, both my supervisors ran out of money. Like, they had huge grants, and they were very humble and very truthful with me and said, like, listen, I want to help you, but if you don't want to, I mean, I have no money to pay you. I only have money for the scholarship, but we don't have money for any analysis whatsoever. So I would totally understand if you want to drop the research and go back home, or continue and find something, because I mean, I don't have money at all. So that's when I started, you know, how resourceful we Latin American women are. So I started knocking every single door and asked for favors, pay back in favors. So all the labs opened their doors to me to do all the analysis that I wanted, obviously, at night when the labs weren't in use. So I managed to do more than it was expected from me for both my master's and my PhD, because there's a phrase that I love in Spanish, is insistir, persistir y nunca desistir. So it's to insist, persist, and never give up. And that's basically, that has been my strategy my entire life. Insist, persist, and never give up. That's why I'm here, never giving up. So I'll leave it there, because.
Thank you, Gloria. And Sonia, do you have an extra strategy you can share with us?
Yes, at this time I'm going to answer in Spanish, so we can move on. Bueno, de mis estrategias, yo primero tengo que reconocer un tema, y es que yo siento, pues, que yo he sufrido como de síndrome de la impostora, ¿sí? O sea, y bueno, y sé que tiene que ver con todo lo que hemos estado hablando en esta reunión. Y digamos, eso me ha prevenido un poco como de justamente lo que decía Gloria, pararme de frente y decir, hey, no, yo no merezco esto, yo no merezco el respeto. O sea, eso me faltó, digamos, en esa reunión con mi tutor, porque pues finalmente yo continué, ¿cierto? Haciendo el doctorado, finalicé, etcétera. Pero es como ya a raíz también de otra estrategia, que es hacer networking con mujeres, como por ejemplo las de la OWSD, y empezar a como interiorizar todo este tema patriarcal que realmente nos ha afectado, y que entonces por eso es que no hemos podido reaccionar, o por eso es que como que no podemos trabajar en conjunto. O sea, esas cosas como hacerlas conscientes en mí para realmente como empezar a cambiar eso en mí, ¿sí? No sé, como dice María Victoria, de pronto es un poco difícil la pelea con demostrarlo como en la sociedad, hacer que la sociedad cambie radicalmente, pero yo creo que sí, pequeños cambios que vamos viendo, especialmente pues en nuestras vidas, ¿no? Entonces, para mí eso, y también creérmela, cada día prepararme mucho más, o sea, porque creo que para uno poderse creer como el cuento de que uno es bueno en lo que hace, también es como ser persistente, como decía Gloria, persistente en prepararse diariamente. O sea, a las mujeres nos toca realmente mucho más para poder demostrar, ¿no? Porque eso es lo que siempre siento que sentimos todas, ¿no? Que tenemos que demostrar a los demás algo, ¿sí? Probar a los demás algo. Entonces, sí creo que la parte como técnica, tenerla muy, muy bien estructurada, muy bien, muy buenas bases, para que realmente, o sea, nadie nos pueda como decir, ay, niña, es que usted no sabe, ubíquese. Y es como, no. Y no solo mostrar como, no es que aquí tengo mi maestría, mi doctorado, mi postdoc, no, sino mis conocimientos, ¿no? Y cómo defenderlos correctamente. Eso, y pues sí, realmente la estrategia que más me ha servido es esta de networking con mujeres, o sea, porque estoy entrando en estos temas también de liderazgo, o sea, empezar a creer que uno tiene también esas habilidades, ¿cierto? Porque nunca las ha desarrollado, pero apenas es como consciente de que, hey, estas cosas también hay que hacer, ¿cierto? Este crecimiento eh, de estas habilidades y también un poco como espiritual, como de fortalecerse uno un poco para poder aguantar como esas situaciones un poco violentas en las que uno pues le toca participar, pero hay que hacerlo porque tenemos que ganar esos espacios. Gracias.
Thank you. Yes, but like thinking about what you said, Sonia, that we need to, that's like, we need to be like really strong in the technical, you know, like we always have to be really well prepared, or otherwise we are so afraid that someone is going to catch us. It's like will realize that we don't know, and but like that also stop us from exploring other things that we might like, but we are scared because we are not well prepared. And that, yeah, that might, I mean, we are losing opportunities to say things that we want to say just because we think and we feel that that's I mean, it's okay. Our word and opinion also are valued, are worth it. And so that's and also I've been reading like about this for a while, and that's like normal for us. Like for men, they can say whatever they want, and they don't even know about it, but they just have an opinion and they just say that out loud. And for us, it's like, no, we can't. It's like you have to be very well prepared. And so that's something also to keep in mind. Sometimes we are missing opportunities. And so I have a couple of questions. Well, someone said that our panel is lovely, and she loves it, so that's awesome. Thanks, Madeline. And that, yeah, we need to talk about this. But an anonymous attendee is asking ¿qué recomiendan para poder entrar al mercado laboral? Creo que es un poco más hacia nosotras como científicas, dándole una comentario o algunos como ideas al respecto. Intentar entrar a ese mercado media vez, o creo que una vez se gradúe de undergraduate, o seguir con los estudios e intentar estudiar en el extranjero. ¿Cuál sería ese escenario que puedan recomendar? ¿Qué creen ustedes? Dale, Gloria, te escuchamos.
Lo contesto en español porque la pregunta era en el español. Listo.
Sí, me parece.
Yo personalmente sugeriría lo que yo hice, que me convino a mí, y era, al terminar el pregrado, yo trabajé 5 años antes de ir a estudiar en el extranjero, a hacer mis posgrados, pero era únicamente porque esos posgrados no existían en Colombia, ¿ya? Entonces hay que analizar muy bien esa situación. ¿Y por qué esperar un poquito para ir a posgrado, hacer maestría o doctorado? Es porque cuando ya llegas a nivel de posgrado tienes que ser lo suficientemente maduro emocionalmente y también intelectualmente para saber que en lo que uno se está metiendo en ese posgrado es de verdad lo que uno quiere hacer. Lo que más recomiendo es hacer lo que te apasiona. Nunca hacer un posgrado, llámese maestría, llámese doctorado, lo que sea, porque supuestamente ese carnet o ese diploma te va a dar más dinero o te va a dar un mejor salario. No, nunca, porque es muchos años invertidos en algo que no te va a costar. Después, entonces ese es mi consejo. Trabaje un rato primero para ver por dónde se quieren caminar y ahí sí seleccione su especialización, su posgrado, puede ser muy bien en el país. Ahora tenemos posgrados muy buenos y profesores buenos en el país que puede seguir, o por fuera, si es que así lo quiere, pero el salir a hacer un posgrado en el exterior no garantiza que uno aquí vaya a conseguir de regreso trabajo o ser
Garantiza lo
mejor que...
contrario,
Exactamente.
garantiza lo contrario.
Y porque dejas tu red profesional y no la construyes por años y te vas y regresas esperando y ya no
En
la
el
tienes.
aire.
Sí, en el aire. Bueno,
Sí.
quiero
Yo para esta pregunta quiero poner una
dale.
cosa chiquita porque no, sí tenemos muy poquito tiempo, pero creo que un poco lo que dice, digamos, de acuerdo con lo que dice Gloria, es tienes que saber que, o sea, no es porque se ha puesto de moda hacer posgrado, entonces ya, digamos, como para vender gasolina piden posgrado, entonces todo el mundo hace posgrados y yo creo que realmente el cambio, excepto digamos en donde hay carreras administrativas con el sector público, que por tener el posgrado inmediatamente subes puntos, en otros campos no es así, o sea, da igual. Entonces tienes que pensar muy bien si vale la pena y si lo estás haciendo, o sea, si es por las razones justas. Digamos, yo hasta maestría no me preocuparía, digamos, yo creo que la maestría, if you pay it, you get it, como dicen en Estados Unidos frente a la maestría. Sí, si la pagas, la logras, pero un doctorado es otra cosa. O sea, yo creo que el doctorado es un compromiso muy largo de tiempo, de energía, donde tú tienes realmente que amarlo y si no, no vale la pena y tampoco vale la pena económicamente porque no hay ninguna garantía, como decía Gloria, ninguna y a veces es al revés. Porque, bueno, no solo lo digo por mí, digamos, en el gremio doctoral colombiano, que es otro grupo al que pertenezco y donde todos somos doctoras y doctores, lo que hay es como una frustración colectiva, collective, disappointment. So, no one is getting what we want. No one. It's just the opposite because the country is not ready for us. And I will say that in English. It's not ready for us. It's, women or men. Less women, they prefer men if they have to keep up, they have to bear doctors better if they are men. But the truth is that we don't have a research career in Colombia. We don't have it. We really don't have it. Not even in the best universities as a career, we don't have it. You have to teach and then on the side, you do research. And also, like they were talking before, the companies, the private sector is not willing to pay for what a doctor is really worth, because they don't believe in knowledge. They don't need it in Colombia either. They don't need it like in other countries. So you really have to think careful. Why are you doing what you want to do? Even more if you are a woman, honestly.
Okay, let's finish. We have 8 minutes. So let's talk about the recommendations or tips or consejos. ¿Cómo se dice consejos en inglés? Se me olvidó. We can
Advice.
Thanks. Which advice can we give to women, to young women that are that are starting their careers, to increase the possibilities to find a good job and to find a decent and a good job? Similar to, and also like, let's try with that together. Let's try to combine it with this. This is from Sandra Parada. I'm trying to overcome a career change in a gap in unemployment. Do you have any suggestions for me to be successful in my job search? So that's kind of similar to and related to the question we are trying to give. So, Marina, do you have anything to say there?
Wow.
Sí, justo estaba respondiéndole a Sandra también allí en el chat, por si no nos daba el tiempo justamente. Pienso que sería importante y para todas que fortalezcamos habilidades relacionadas con todo este tema de análisis de datos, si no eres, digamos, avanzada en el uso, por ejemplo, de Excel, fórmate en Excel. O sea, hoy tenemos muchas herramientas, por ejemplo, a través de YouTube. O sea, hay muchas herramientas que no tienes que hacer una formación, digamos, en términos formales, aunque también hay certificaciones que te pueden ayudar y son elementos que en cualquier escenario laboral van a ser útiles y atractivos. Entonces, cuando dominas todas estas tecnologías emergentes, también aprovecharlas. Hoy el boom es el tema de la IA o estas, digamos, estas herramientas que son generadoras, ¿verdad? Es necesario que aprendamos a utilizar eso en el entorno en el cual te muevas profesionalmente. O sea, qué uso le puedes dar para reducir los tiempos que te toma hacer una tarea aprovechando este tipo de insumos. Entonces, si te formas y te cualificas en otras competencias que den un valor agregado a tu perfil, si estás haciendo un cambio de carrera, si estás haciendo o tienes un tiempo fuera de empleo, fortalece eso en medio que vas haciendo la búsqueda. O sea, puedes ir haciéndolo paralelamente, vas buscando y vas fortaleciendo competencias que veas que son necesarias en el mundo laboral, de acuerdo al nicho en el que te encuentres. Y mi comentario frente a la pregunta que decías muy corto es que no renunciemos a nuestras características como mujeres. Es decir, estamos en un mundo que nos tocó porque así lo encontramos, pero tampoco la solución está en, entonces, volcarnos a estereotipos masculinos para poder nosotras entonces posicionarnos. Precisamente lo que necesitamos es que haya un reconocimiento de esa diversidad de lo biológico, lo psicológico, lo emocional, lo social que nos caracteriza independientemente de nuestro género, para que podamos aportar a una sociedad más justa a hombres y mujeres, en lugar de tratar de entonces emular lo que han sido las características de liderazgo, por ejemplo, masculino a lo largo de la historia. O sea, necesitamos es que haya una aceptación y un reconocimiento de la diversidad, más de seguir alineándonos con modelos que de pronto son los que nos han llevado a la inequidad. Gracias. Gracias por el panel.
Yo quería decir algo, Meli. Un minuto. Algo que no hice, something that I didn't do and I should have done, is to keep, to keep the connection with my international networks. I think that's very important, because you won't find this place here, but you might have, the pressure from outside can help you in opening a space in Colombia, for example, or Latin America, because they respect more, people from overseas. This is part of our, this complex of, being less than. So that will help. And I didn't do it enough. I didn't think I needed. So that's important. And also the new networks with women. I like that. This has been very helpful, although I am already on, kind of done, but still it was very helpful to see people, in all different moments of their careers, in different stage of their careers. It was nice to be able to contribute to the younger ones and then talk with the people like at the same stage as you are. And it was really helpful. It was nice not to feel alone. Has been very lonely, this fight, for me.
Okay. Sonia, Gloria, ya minutico, por favor.
Ok, pues bueno, me voy a enfocar más en lo de pensar un cambio como de carrera, porque justamente de transicionar como de academia, industria o consultoría, que es justamente como lo que estoy ahorita, también en ese momento. Yo me ha sido muy útil y por eso pues lo recomiendo estas redes de contactos de mujeres o también pues de colombianos con doctorado, como mencionaba María Victoria, o la diáspora también, como volver hasta a tomar esas conexiones que tenía afuera para también ver qué oportunidades hay allá, ¿no? O sea, a veces digamos, yo volví acá a Colombia pensando como quiero venir acá a aportar lo que aprendí, hacer estas cosas. Creo que es un sueño que todos volvemos con eso, ¿cierto? Queremos aportar a nuestro país y no es que no lo quiera seguir haciendo, sino que pues, digamos, no estaba tan consciente de que la realidad es un poco otra cosa, ¿no? Entonces, em, fortalecer como esas redes. También hay redes que son justamente creadas para hacer esa transición de academia a industria, porque, bueno, aunque suene un poco capitalista y todo, sí es verdad que debemos vendernos un poco diferente de como las habilidades técnicas y blandas que tenemos en la academia, tenemos que ponerlas de otra forma en la industria para que para la industria sea llamativa, ¿no? Porque si solamente como poner que tenemos un título y que sabemos de investigación, muy pocas oportunidades hay ahí, pero toca hablarlo en los términos en los que puede ser de interés pues para las empresas, ¿no? Y bueno, pues en eso hay muchas redes. Em, También buscar como vacantes donde se hable un poco más como de esas visión que tiene la empresa de equidad, porque sí las hay, o sea, lo estoy notando ahorita, hay nuevas vacantes, digamos, antes nunca lo había visto, y ahora sí se abren como espacios de, no, es que queremos la diversidad y la inclusión y todo, entonces también un poco buscar por ese lado, porque creo que son estrategias eh, que nos sirven, ¿cierto? Que son valiosas, porque sí es verdad que tenemos que aumentar esa participación de mujeres en áreas STEM o en el trabajo, ¿cierto? En los lugares de trabajo.
Gracias. Narina, just 1 minute for the listening, Gloria.
Yeah, definitely. Also, please, if you want to answer these questions, also we have 5-10 minutes. It's not really a problem. It is a
Okay.
very great inspirational talk, and I think it's very meaningful that you are all together and you are sharing your experience. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gloria.
I think that what we can do to change the way things are is to continue what we've been doing, like all this local networks getting together, spreading the word, and basically educating government, industry, and academia that we are super women, that we can fill in gaps, not only in academia, because many of us think that academia is the only place that we can work at due to our backgrounds and our expertises, but we can also switch into, as Sonia said, into industry or even government and open up opportunities for whomever is behind us, like all the younger generations. So, and this is incline or in line with the goals for a sustainable future. Like, and we need to continue to fight the fight and open up more opportunities, but making people aware that women PhD or PhDs in general, I mean, people with a lot of qualified professionals, we can do many things besides our own little expertises, because we have an amount of skills that we don't even know that we have them, because we don't look into those like that. I mean, I learned so many things during my PhD besides only geochronology, like so many other things that we don't exploit. Let's say we don't exploit ourselves, our own skills. So, but we need to focus is on teaching all the different entities, like government, state, industry, and NGOs, that they can also hire us, like the overqualified, let's say overqualified people or women. So there's a lot to do in that sense. And I think we're doing it little by little in our networks at the OWSD and at the Gremio Doctoral Colombiano also, and in our own little like spaces, like professional spaces. That's it.
Thank you so much. Muchas gracias a todos los que están. Yo no había visto que había tanta gente conectada. Hemos tenido 32, yo no había visto. Yo solo veía nosotras 6 y ya. So that's awesome. Thank you. There are a couple of questions. Well, there is Naida said about the barriers that like when we were talking about barriers in like gender barriers, she said something like, you become, like women become the enemy because it is pointing something that is not working, and so just because the idea of being a woman saying that you become the enemy. And also, alguien pregunta cómo balancear la vida familiar y la vida laboral, en especial en investigadoras con bebés o niños pequeños que son tan dependientes de la mamá, de la madre. El entorno es hostil con las madres y con los niños. Duro, pero se puede, se puede. ¿Tienen algunos comentarios al respecto? No, no.
Bueno, yo
Yo no
soy
tengo
madre,
hijos.
bueno, dos comentarios. Uno, el primero es que muchas veces nosotras como mujeres retrasamos, por ejemplo, si está en el proyecto de vida, porque puede que no esté y está bien, o sea, es decisión de cada quien, ¿verdad? Si tiene o no tiene hijos. Pero muchas retrasan el tener hijos por poder hacer una carrera profesional y llegar a una posición, digamos, donde te encuentras la estabilidad. Fue mi caso. Yo retrasé mucho la decisión. Y eso llevó a que realmente mi vida estuviera en peligro al momento de tener mi hijo. Y creo que es importante hablarlo porque en temas de mortalidad materna, creo que esto puede también representar un riesgo para nosotras las mujeres, retrasar tanto esa decisión en función de los objetivos profesionales. Creo que es importante que encontremos parejas que estén alineados con nuestra perspectiva del mundo, de la vida y de los roles de género. En este momento, por ejemplo, mi esposo está alimentando al niño y él pasa gran parte del tiempo con el niño mientras yo estoy de pronto en la oficina. Él tiene un trabajo diferente y da la oportunidad de que él pueda responsabilizarse en ese sentido. Cambiar los discursos de que él me ayuda. No, él no me ayuda, él es responsable de su hijo también. Y tomamos decisiones de cómo nos organizamos frente al cuidado y frente a la obtención de recursos y demás. Entonces, creo que son cuestiones que es importante ver desde el noviazgo, desde antes de formar ya un hogar, quién va a acompañarte en ese proyecto de vida que tienes, si está en tu proyecto de vida ser madre y si va a ser para ti una mayor carga porque te vas a tener que hacer, digamos, tú cargar todo el hogar y además tu trabajo, o si realmente puedes encontrar una persona con quien las responsabilidades van a ser compartidas y van a tener una relación más horizontal. Creo que se puede, es difícil, pero es parte de ese ejercicio de poder aportar a que estos temas sean hablados, sean discutidos y poder ser más conscientes. Y en la crianza, ¿no? Todos en ese sentido, todos aportamos también cómo se construyen estas nuevas generaciones.
Yo aprovecho y hablo, yo también soy mamá. Ya está grandecita, tiene 8, pero al principio pues sí estábamos por fuera los dos y solos, entonces pues muy berraco. Además de que uno no tiene en las cosas que tenemos en Latinoamérica, esa red extendida de familia, los primos, las hermanas, las primas, entonces, o las tías, entonces eso no lo tenés y estás solo. Pero en balance, a ver, yo soy yo creo que yo soy muy buena vida, debe ser. Entonces, mis fines de semana son mis fines de semana y no los trato de no, ¿cómo se llama? De usarlos para mí y mi familia, punto. Es duro porque, claro, entre semana estoy de trabajo un poco, pues con mucha carga. Hay veces no. Pero la decisión, por ejemplo, pues, pero uno empieza, o sea, son prioridades de vida. Estábamos en Estados Unidos, yo estaba haciendo un postdoc y decidimos venir, o sea, yo decidí con mi esposo que nos veníamos porque el postdoc y era darse cuenta de que tenés que completamente borrar a tu familia y a vos mismo de tu vida y solo dedicarte a eso para poder tener, digamos, una carrera próspera y pensar en tener un tenure. en una universidad en Estados Unidos. Entonces yo no estaba dispuesta a eso. Y mis prioridades cambiaron y me regresé para Colombia. Entonces yo creo que es eso también, tener como, o sea, tener sus prioridades bien sentadas. La ayuda del padre definitivamente hace mucha la diferencia en tener ese apoyo y en uno mismo ser disciplinado y darse su tiempo. Las mamás, además de que uno no le saca tiempo porque es que cómo voy a dejar a mi hija o a mi hijo solo o sola. Entonces, pero no, también se necesita, también es necesario esos espacios de descanso, así sea una horita, pero es necesario. I think we are about to end. So yeah, I guess thank you so much all for listening us. Thank you, guys and ladies here, because it was such a nice space to hear you and to share the experiences we had. So yeah, OWSD existe en muchos países. The OWSD organization, this organization for scientists, women scientists, exists in many countries, and you can look for that in Google. Just search it if you want to have this network of women to help each other and just to raise together. Thank you, Nerina, so much for this.
No, thank you all for being part of the World Forum Women in Science, and I hope that we can keep in touch and we see each other tomorrow for another very nice session about communications. So I wish you a nice day and see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for your.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Thank you.